Hello, Yawning Angel here with a video about some software other than Amos. Yes, it's true. This one's about Photogenics, a graphics package, a 24-bit graphics package for the Amiga, AGA Amigas only. So Yawning Angel, why are you doing a video on this particular package? Well, I recently acquired this via an eBay purchase because just really I wanted the manual, that's all I needed. But this came with the manual and the floppies as well, and they looked to be in quite good condition. So I thought to myself, why don't we try and install this from floppy onto one of my Amigas? So that is what this video is primarily about, that journey. Also, we're going to take a quick whistle-stop tour through Photogenics. This particular version is version 1.2. There are subsequent versions. I think it went up to version 4, possibly version 5 before it left the Amiga platform. I could be corrected on that. But it's an interesting graphics package, and I did use it, and I actually had this for my Amiga back in the day. So what makes Photogenics so special? Well, for back in the day, this was effectively Photoshop for the Amiga. Photoshop came to light around 1990, with Photogenics making an appearance around 1993 and onwards. There were subsequent versions, and like I say, I think I can track up to version 4.1, which came out in 1996. There was a lot of love for it, and Almathera, the creators of Photogenics, had a lot of love for the Amiga and the Amiga platform. Now, I said I got this because I was after the manual, and a lot of people will probably be now screaming at the screen going, yes, but the manual was a big, thick, chunky ring binder, and you're absolutely right, it was. The version I had back in the day was in a ring binder, but this, as you can see, is just a booklet, but it does have everything in it, and I think this particular box version that I have was part of a bundle that came out for the Amiga when ESCOM brought out the rights to the Amiga. I think it was part of the Magic Pack bundle, and this was one of the serious bits of software to be bundled with A1200s at that time. So hence the smaller form factor and not the big chunky manual that some people are used to having. So what actually is the Photogenics software? Well, it's a 24-bit raster graphics editing package. It enables you to edit bitmaps, JPEGs and the like. Raster graphics are kind of what we're all used to. Raster graphics include digital photos, images which are made up of rows and columns of dots known as pixels. This is pretty basic stuff, but raster graphics differ wildly from vector graphics, which are created using mathematical geometric algorithms. Also, a disclaimer here, I'm not a graphics guy, and that's the best description you're going to get. So on my main Amiga here, I have version 2 of Photogenics running, and you might notice that I use this to create the video thumbnail for this video. So I figured, as this package that I've got is version 1.2, we'll have a stab at installing it from floppy onto my other Amiga. So let's take a look and see what was inside the box. So my box of Photogenics software came with a box, obviously the 3 floppy disks, 2 required to run the program, 1 to install it, and the Photogenics manual, which was in really good condition given the age of this software. The 3 disks include the program disk, the images disk, and disk 3, which had the fonts and all the extras on, as well as the hard disk installer software, which we're going to be making use of in this video. Also included in the box was the obligatory important message page. This was a message from Paul Ralph, the managing director of Almathera Software. On this, he thanks us for actually buying the full version of Photogenics. He also asked for our help. Please, don't pirate this. You need to buy it if you want to use it. Makes perfect sense. Also interested is the footnote that says Almathera have stuck with the Amiga during its death and now rebirth. So this was definitely during the time when ESCOM had brought out the rights to the Amiga and were now selling them. Almathera definitely had positive thoughts for the Amiga's future. It's just a shame that didn't really work out, but here we are. Right, so what I'm going to do first is take these disks, these individual floppies, and back them up to ADF files, just in case, because I don't want anything going wrong with these and something happens during the process and these get damaged or corrupted. So I figured we'll create some ADF images, and if all goes wrong, then I can hopefully recover from the ADF ADF versions. Well, we'll give it a try. So here I am on Workbench. I'm going to use a piece of software called Disk2ADF, which is a relatively modern piece of software. And I got this off the Amiga Love website. So this is a piece of software by David Dunkley. And I've not used this before, so we'll give this a try. So what I'm going to do then is make sure the write protect is off on this disk, and I'm going to stick this into my external drive. So we're doing this on my main Amiga because that's where I do a lot of my work. And then once this is done, we'll transfer over to the Back in Black Amiga and we'll get the install done on there. So let's pop that disk 1 into my floppy drive. There it is, Photogenics 1 has appeared there. So the syntax for this is Disk2ADF from df1 to, and we're going to call this, pg1.adf. Because it says there, be sure to add the .adf. I don't know where this is going to put this, because I've actually got this Disk2ADF software in my C directory in Workbench. So let's see what happens. And also what I do want to stress is before embarking on this, I have given these disks a visual check to make sure there's no damage to them. There's no rough surfaces or anything, because, you know, the disks are fairly old. So I don't know what state they're in. So I don't even know if this process is going to work, but we'll give it a try. Right, so let's see what this does then. So I've got this command, write Disk2ADF from df1 is my external drive to a file name, and I'm going to call it pg_1adf. Right, here goes. Please insert disk 1 in df1. I already have. Reading. Okay, stuff is happening. So let's just sit back and wait for this to do its thing. Okay, process seems to have done. Good. So we'll have a look and see where it's put that, that ADF file in a moment. But let's take out disk 1. Let's grab disk 2. And let's do the same here. I always get very nervous when doing stuff with original floppy disks because you never know what state they're in and whether things will actually work. Oh, disk 2. We're not talking to disk 2? Hello. Ah, there it is. Whew. For a minute there I thought it was like not going to read it. Okay, so let's run this command again. And this time obviously this is pg2.adf. So, right, here we go then. So doing the second Photogenics disk, let's do it. Yep, insert the disk is already in there, punch it. So the thing is, the third disk is going to be the important one because that's got the installer on it. I mean, I guess they're all important, but, you know, priorities and stuff. Okay, that looks like it's done it all right. So, yep, there's that. The original disk seems to be okay. Good, so I'll eject that. So now we're going to do disk 3. Once again, make sure the write protect is in the write protect state, because this is the important disk, because it's the installer. So let's pop that in. Where's it put that? I love the way it puts the icons across the workbench. Very strange. Right, let's go do this command again. So this will be pg_3adf. Right, are we ready? Let's do it. Insert disk. Yeah, we've done that. Fingers crossed. Third disk. Let's go. Okay, that has succeeded. So it looks like we should have 3 ADF files somewhere. So I just need to go away and find them now. Right, so here we are in Directory Opus and I have located those ADF files. What I forgot to show you and mention was that when you do the disk to ADF, you can specify a full path as to where you want those ADF files to go. Because I was running that utility from the C directory, it has actually put those at the root of my workbench partition. So there they are, PG_1, PG_2, PG_3. They're ADF files, there they are. What I have got here is in my side slot here, I've got my compact flash card fitted. This is just, I'm going to back these up onto my external compact flash card so I can transfer them to a USB stick if I need to, if this install doesn't go very well. So what I've done on this compact flash card, I've already created a folder here, Photogenics backup, and what I'm going to do from Workbench here is where those ADF files are, I'm just going to copy them over just so I've got them on an external device that I can then put onto USB should I need it. But the task there was to create ADF files from the original Photogenics disks. I seem to have done that, so yeah, I feel pretty pleased. So let's move on. Just as a little bit of a belt and braces check, what I've done with these ADF files on the root of my workbench partition, excuse me, I've given them info files here within Directory Opus. So that means now when I go onto my workbench, there they are. So if I tap on that, that should mount. There we go, look at that. I've clicked on the PG2 ADF and it's mounted it there. And if I do the same for 3, because 3 did something weird, didn't it? Oh, come on. Didn't want to do that. So there is 3. Look at that. So if I double click on Photogenics 1, I've got it showing all the files in there. So that appears to be there okay. Let's have a look at 2. And let's have a look at 3. There's the install. So this is pretty cool. So I've got those ADF files. I might be tempted to do the install straight from the ADFs, but the purpose of this really is to use the original floppies. So let's change machines and see what I can do. Okay, so here we are then on the Back in Black Amiga, and I'm going to pop the original floppy disk for Photogenics. So this is the hard drive install disk. I'm going to pop that in the internal drive. So there it is. So I have got my external floppy connected as well. So I don't know whether to put disk 2 in there. Actually, I think I will. I'm going to put disk 2. Well, I don't know. Let's see what it asks for when I start to do the install. Before I get on and do this, let me just move that down there. What I have done, I've preempted where I want to put this. So on one of my partitions here, I've got a graphics folder. And in there, I've already got Personal Paint. Because those who watch this channel will know that I'm more of a Personal Paint advocate than I am dpaint. So I've got Personal Paint in there. I have created a Photogenics folder. Obviously there's nothing in there at the moment, but that's where I'm going to aim to do the install into. But we'll see where the installer takes us. So there is a README. Let's fire that up and see what that says. So this is, I think, just pretty much all the bits that have been added. Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's fine, just standard stuff, nothing specific there about the install. So deep breath, let's punch the install Photogenics icon and see what happens. Here we go. Right, welcome to the Photogenics 1.2. So I'm going to go for expert user, proceed with install, install for real, absolutely. Welcome, readme, blah, 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 blah. So copyright 94 to 95, that's interesting. So which to install? Extra modules, extra color fonts. I want to install everything. Let's get everything on there. Proceed. Where would you like to install Photogenics? So let's go to show drives. Nope. Parent, games, graphics. There we go. And Photogenics. That's where I want to go. Proceed. Yep. So that's going to be installed. Graphics, Photogenics. Proceed. Where should Photogenics keep its temporary files? Well, it's already created a folder in there, so I'm just going to go with the default. Please insert Photogenics 1 in any drive. Photogenics 1 in any drive. And I'm going to put this in my external floppy drive. Oh. So we've got to proceed there. Look at that, Photogenics 1 has appeared. So let's do proceed. So that's reading off of my external floppy drive. Install the Photogenics data files. Proceed with copy. Oh yeah, want everything. Everything. We're going to put everything on here. It's not like we're short of space. Okay, Photogenics fonts, going to go in the fonts. Yep, that's fine. Going into the Amiga OS fonts there, that's good. Destination, version currently installed is 47. I'm going to leave that, so we'll skip that part. I'm not putting an older version of a library on there. Checking updating set requires version 40.6. Set patch, okay. I'm going to skip that part. Installing more Photogenics data files. Yep, proceed with copy. I just hope by skipping those older versions of those libraries, that's not going to cause too much of an issue, but we'll see what happens. Do you want the installer to automatically make the required changes to Photogenics? If you don't recreate a script file containing commands you should add to your... So, yes, I do. Let's get the installer to do everything. Now adding the photogenic lines to S-user startup. Yep, that's fine. We'll do a proceed there. Please select which extra loader savers you require. As I said, we'll do the whole lot. So now it's reading off of the installer disk from the internal floppy drive. So the clicking is slightly different. Where do you wish to install color fonts? Well, we'll put them in the fonts folder. Where do you wish to install the tutorial? And the example drawing and graphics will be, well, that's going to go into the Photogenics folder, so we'll proceed. Interesting, it's asking, create a directory for the graphics. Yeah, okay, proceed. Please insert Photogenics disk 2 in any drive. So I'm going to put this in the external drive. Having more than one floppy drive, it's like the 1990s all over again. Installing Photogenics examples and tutorials, yep. The spacewalker character, absolutely. And the girl, yeah, nice. Okay, proceed with copy. I also kind of work on this theory that if something goes wrong with my external floppy drive, it's going to be slightly easier to get to and repair than the internal one. More stuff. Yep, proceed with copy. Following the last confirmation is a list of changes, updates and enhancements for Photogenics which didn't make it to the manual. There is important information in the text, so please be sure to read it. Then go ahead and start Photogenics by double-clicking on its icon. This can be found in the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Spray on, gang. Spray on. Yeah, okay. Stuff here. Not too sure. I'm going to read this because I'm a bloke and I don't read. I assume it's saved this somewhere. New icon support added. That's good because I've got new icons on here. Right. I think that install has done. It's gone through the disks okay, which is pretty good news. So I'm going to stop recording and then we'll start recording again and fire up Photogenics off of the hard drive on this machine and see what it looks like. Right, closed off some windows. Let's go and see if it has actually installed that okay. So I'm going to go to my graphics folder, into Photogenics, into the Photogenics folder the installer created. I'm not going to bother with the README. I'm just going to fire up the Photogenics, click on the Photogenics icon. Let's see what happens. Come on! Enter your name and registration number on the back of disk 1. I need to do that. Okay, so here it is. It is running. So I found the correct registration key on the back of this disk. The disk is a little bit old and the first few digits have been rubbed off, so I've managed to find out what they were by a process of trial and error. I had to, because I've got the Indivision HDMI card fitted to this Amiga, the screen mode was entirely corrupted when I fired it up, so I had to dive in and change the screen mode in the settings, but that's easily done. So here it is, Photogenics 1.2 is up and running on this machine, and I am incredibly pleased. So what we're going to do is have a bit of a nose through some of the menus, see what we've got. Obviously our toolbox is here, usual kind of graphics tools here, but we've got, we can obviously create new documents, we can open documents, various options. We've got image options, brush options, alpha and paint layer options, different windows that we can have up on the screen, and of course our settings menu here. So I think what we might do is open up an image and see what that looks like. Right, so what I've decided to do is load one of my Yawning Angel images, which are actually located on my external compact flash. So I've got that in here. It's going to be that one, the fist bump one. So let's load that. So this is an IFF file. It brings it in and then it does a convert into chunky 24-bit. And let's see, ta-da! Do you know, that's pretty cool. Yes, indeed. I did try to load the thumbnail image that I created for this video. Sadly, it won't load on this machine because I don't have enough memory because of the way I've got this configured, so I can use my external compact flash. I've only got about 4 meg of extra RAM on here, and that image is well over 6 meg. So I will show you that on Photogenics 2 on my other machine later, but it wouldn't load on here, sadly. But, you know, we've got other images loading here, so we are constricted by memory we have available to us. So there we go, we can load images. So what we'll do, we'll have a quick play through the tutorial, see what we can do. And yeah, so let's see where this journey takes us. Okay, so I've been playing around with this version 1.2 of Photogenics for a while on the Back in Black Amiga, and I can say it is incredibly memory hungry. You really need a lot of available memory if you're going to do anything worthwhile in the modern age with this package. And you know, my example I cite is the thumbnail I created for this video. I did this on my other Amiga using version 2 of Photogenics. Because I got so much more memory available on that machine, I could create an image which is usable on modern systems, pretty much. But I thought I'd just run through a couple of things on this version just to show you what the kind of thing that can be done and how you need to think about how Photogenics approaches graphics creation. So if we look up here, we can see the available memory that this has got to play with here. So as I said, I've got an 8 meg card in here, but I'm only running it as 4 meg because I need to use the external compact flash. So I've not got a lot of room to play with here. But anyway, let's dive in and look at one of the tutorials. And that is a rippling an image tutorial. So what we're going to do is open up one of the tutorial images. So let me dive into that folder. We need to be in, no we don't, we need to be in graphics, Photogenics, no, not in temporary. Need to be in graphics, tutorial images, and we're going to open up girl.jpg. Don't worry, this is all tasteful. It's a child-friendly video. So there we go, 1990s girl.jpg. There it is. Now we're going to create a displacement map. So if I go up to open as other, and I've got a loader window has appeared here, and I'm going to select ripples. So I'm going to select ripples. I'm then going to hit load, and it should give us a size. Now we need the size to be the same size as girl.jpg, so that is 200 wide, 200 wide and 256 high. So I'm going to click OK. We can click OK again, that's fine. And what it's going to do is going to create a separate image with some ripples in it. Yes, I am reading from the manual. There we go. So now I've got some ripples. That's pretty cool. Now, the next thing from this image, this is going to be our displacement map. Okay, so what I want to do is select the image by clicking on the title bar, which I have done, and then go to options and use as secondary. So I flick that over, and if you notice down here under this, in this secondary box, I've got that image has appeared, which is pretty cool. So now I've got my main image here, I've got my secondary image there. Right, step 4, go to the main image again. So I've selected that, click on the mode button on the toolbar. And now this brings up my modes. And as you can see, Photogenics has got a lot of modes here. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but pretty much if you think about an effect or a mode you want to run in, Photogenics has your back. So now we want to do is select a displace map from the list. So I've done that. I've selected displace map. So fill the screen, and what I want to do that is with the white button above the fix on the toolbar. So here's this white button here above the word fix. So if I just click on that, look at that, look what's happened to our girl. She's gone all ripply. So there you go. Quite a simple effect. Now I want to show you something quite cool actually. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open as other again, and I'm going to select plasma, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select 200 by 256, click OK. Now we're going to generate a plasma image. Plasma images take a little bit longer to generate. Obviously, if your machine is not accelerated, they'll take longer still. So let's sit back and wait for this to generate. There we go, and now I've got a nice plasma image. I've got my ripples, I've got my plasma, that's all good. What I'm going to do is come back to my girl image, and I want to get rid of that displacement map. So I should be able to click K on the keyboard, and that returns her back to the way she was. So think of K as an undo if you haven't actually fixed your changes on the image. And we'll talk more about that later. But what I am going to do is come over here to mode, and I'm going to select rub through, and I'm going to select an airbrush sorry, the kind of a freehand style here. If I go down to my brushes, so I've got airbrush is selected here, and if I click on the button next to the brush icon, I can select my size. If I change that to about 25, 26 or 27, change the pressure up about 20, that's fine. So here we can see Photogenics starting to come into its own because I've got all these multiple little windows open, and this is quite cool. There's a little window for each tool that I'm using. So I go back to my girl, and my secondary image is the ripple. So now technically, if I start to click on her face, as you can see what's happening, it's rubbing through that, bringing through whatever is in the secondary image. Once again, it's a little bit slow. Don't forget this is an unaccelerated machine, but you get the idea. So if I just turn her head into something quite nightmarish, like that. So there you go. Now I want to show you something. I'm going to change over that secondary image. And because I haven't fixed that change on the main image, if I click on the plasma screen and if I do use that as secondary, look what happens. It kind of swaps it over. It's not perfect, but it has brought forward, it has used that plasma image. Let's see if I can rub through some more stuff. See if I can try and get a... Yes, it's all kind of doing it as one color, but let's see what happens if I go... here we go, yeah. So you see, it's just kind of rubbing through. Once again, just to give you an idea of what can be done here. Let me go back to that ripple and use that secondary. Yeah, so you can see that's the kind of thing that you can do. You can generate effects and then start to rub things through, apply them, do displacement maps by using secondary image. It's kind of quite cool. So yeah, that's that. And now I just want to give you a quick whistle-stop tour through some basic Photogenics functionality, and then we might move back to version 2 of this software. Right, here we are. We're going to have a quick play around with it now. Today is a new day because I had to stop recording yesterday because camera ran out of battery. So I'm back another day and with a cup of tea in Speedball 2 mug. Awesome. That is really tasty, despite it being 30 degrees centigrade outside. Right, so what I just want to do is a very quick and dirty, rough run through Photogenics. This is not a tutorial, it's just these are some things you can do, and this is kind of how it works. So one thing I did want to stress is you are not coming into Photogenics to use this like you use Deluxe Paint. This is a completely different type of graphics package. This is a whole new world. You effectively have your canvas, and then you will apply things to that canvas, drawings or images or whatever. Then you need to fix that layer, as it were, before you can make any other changes that you then fix to that layer. So it's almost like you're building up layers on a canvas and you have to fix each layer before you can move on to make another change. You cannot see these layers. So unlike with Photoshop and the likes of modern packages, you'll see the layers that you work through. That is not a thing here in Photogenics at all. It's one layer, fix, then you're back to one layer, and so on and so forth. I'll kind of show you. Right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to open up a white page. Let's do it, 320 by 256. And this gives us a very general kind of white page there. And what I'm going to do is click on my brush to see what brush I have selected, and I have airbrush. Although for what I'm going to do next, this doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to select this filled rectangle, and coming back here, I'm going to draw a rectangle there, and I'm going to draw a rectangle here. There we go. Isn't that nice? Very pretty, very 1980s. But now I decide, well, actually, I want to change the color. I want to draw my next rectangle in a different color. So I click on here to get my palette, and the palette opens up, and I think, well, actually, what I want is maybe let's try and find a red. So there's a red. So I want to use the red because if you notice up here in my toolbar, that hasn't changed. That's still showing yellow. So if I click on use, look what's happened. It's actually changed the blocks which I already put down on the canvas to the new color. Now, the reason it did this is because I did not fix those colors in place. So this is why you're not using this like you use dPaint, where you can just draw something in one color, switch to another color and carry on drawing. You're not using it like that. So let's go back and let's click on yellow or click on use. So they come back to yellow. So now if I click on fix, and if you look in the top left-hand corner here, you'll see it's now doing the changes, it's fixing those. So now I can come back to my palette and choose a red, and maybe I want to do a filled circle. So I want to use red, so click on use. So that's changed that color. I've changed the color here. You'll notice those colors are now fixed in position. I've got my circle. So now I might want to just draw a circle here, filled circle in red, job done. So I might want to fix that. And now I might want to go to palette and choose a sky blue, click on use, and maybe I want to do another circle over here. So there you go. But you've got to, you make a change, fix it, then you move on to your next change. And that's pretty much it. In terms of undos, you can undo and redo the fixing. You can't undo from a menu as such what you've maybe put on the page. So I've put this blue circle in there. Maybe let's put another, let's change the color. If I click on that, yeah, so this circle here has not been fixed yet. But if I press K on the keyboard, it gets rid of it because I haven't fixed it. So anything you haven't fixed to the page, you can press K on the keyboard and it gets rid of it. It kind of takes you back to the previous version of the document that was fixed. So yeah, there you go. That's very, very basic, how to get your head around the fixing and making changes and having them applied, etc. What we'll do, we'll load in one of the sample images and I'll show you how you can compose an image within Photogenics. And that's something you really do need to get your head around to get the most out of Photogenics, in my opinion. So let's do that next. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open as, and I'm going to bring an image in and I'm going to dump it in my secondary channel. Okay, so, and I'll show you why in a minute. So let's go volumes, and I wanted graphics, Photogenics, graphics, tutorial images. Let's use the spacewalker and let's open that. So what this is going to do, it's going to load this JPEG image and it's going to dump it down here into my secondary channel box. There it is, it's there. I mean, I can bring it up. There you go. That's it, very pixelated spacewalker. So let me get rid of that palette window. So there's my spacewalker. What you can do, instead of having all these images on the screen, as long as they exist in this image bank at the bottom, you can hide images. So if I click on that spacewalker, and I should be able to, maybe I can't. I thought you could hide. Oh yeah, hide show window, there we go. So, but I've still got that image, even though I've removed it from the screen, it's still down here in my secondary channel. Now what I want to do is bring that image and put it in the middle of my canvas here. So what I'm going to do is go to Compose in the image menu, and that basically, as you can see, it automatically takes what's in your secondary channel and dumps it in. And then I've got some controls over here as to what I can do with that. So I can move that over if I wanted to. So this is very, very quick and dirty, but it just shows you what can be done. So then I can click on OK, and that, if you notice, top left-hand corner, it's now fixing that in position. So there you go. I now have a spacewalker as part of my image. So that's how I can compose. You almost compose, you bring these things together and then lay them on. That's fixed, and I can bring in another image if I wanted to. So let's open as secondary. Let's bring in, I don't know, let's bring in the girl and see what that does. very quick. Here we go. The girl is now in a secondary. So now if I did, I think hit K on the keyboard. No, I don't hit K on the keyboard. I do. Oh, it's Amiga K. That's it for compose. You can't compose an image into itself. That's because I haven't actually selected an image. So I need to select my primary image. Now go to compose. And there she is. There's the girl. I think if I can grab these handles, can I? Yeah, I should be able to scale this. There we go. I can bring this image in and I can sort of manipulate it to a degree on here. Move it around. And then as soon as I click on OK here, it fixes the changes. Bang. And we're in. And that's it. That is our image. We can save that out. We can do save. I'm going to save that as a JPEG. Then select where I want to save it. Let's go back to volumes. And we'll go to, I've got a pictures folder. We'll give it a name, PG demo image.jpg. I don't know whether it automatically appends that. I don't think it does. But we'll dump that on. Quality settings, so it gives you the quality setting for JPEGs. Jump that up to 100. And that'll save that out quite nicely to that folder. And that's really all there is to it. That's Photogenics in a very, very hasty, rough nutshell. You really need to get hold of it, get hold of a manual. There should be manuals online, and see all the different stuff you can do. You can warp images as well. You can do all that embossing, all the kind of, use the different types of brushes. It's quite feature rich, but you need a lot of memory and you need to get your head around how Photogenics works in order to get the best out of it. Right, going to switch machines back now and I'll show you quickly Photogenics version 2 on my main Amiga, and I'll show you that thumbnail image that I created for this video. Okay, here we are back in front of my main Amiga. So let's fire up Photogenics. So this is version 2, which I used to do the thumbnail image on, which I must admit I'm quite pleased with. So this one, obviously I've got a lot more memory available on this Amiga than I have on my Back in Black one. So what I should be able to do, let's come back in here and let's open that thumbnail. So I just need to find that. Bear with me. Video thumbs. So this should be the final version of that thumbnail I created in here. I find with version 2, one of the changes was the ability to add text is a lot easier. It's quite convoluted in 1.2 and I didn't show you how to do that because that would need another video in its own right. But in here, adding text was a lot easier, so I added the text in here. This takes a little bit of a while to load because it's a 6 meg image. Photogenics 2 is not making use of any FPU. I don't have an FPU on this machine anyway, but it doesn't actually make use of one even if you did have it. So this is it. This is the video thumbnail that I created in here. And obviously you can see the quality of that, how that has come out. Because don't forget, Photogenics is showing you the image based on your screen size and your screen resolution and the number of colors you have available to you. But when it dumps the image out, it's dumping it out full high res version of it, or high res for back in the day. So that was the final image, which I was quite pleased with. Oh, I've just drawn a line on it. If I hit K, yep, there we go. That kind of does that. Just gets rid of anything which isn't fixed to the image. Can I move that? Yes, I can. So if I show you very quickly in terms of text, there's a text editor. Just pressing T on the keyboard brings up a text editor within Photogenics, and then you can put your text in here, choose your font, choose your positioning, and it would then dump it onto your canvas, and then you can move it around on the canvas as well. So that's just a very little quick thing there. Let me show you some previous versions of this if I can, just so you know that I did genuinely do this on this machine. So let me try the first incarnation of this and see what it looked like. Just wait for this to load. So that's pretty much where I started with this, and then I just kept on adding to it and each time I got to a specific point, I saved it because I wasn't sure whether I would actually go with that version in the end. So let's just open up the third one. So we've seen the end, we've seen the start. Let's see what it looked like when I was in the middle of the process. Here we go then, this will be the third incarnation of that as I was kind of building it up. So there you go. I'm not going to do a tour on version 2, not worth it, try and grab it if you can. As I said, version 4, there was a version 5, do go and check those out. But I must admit, I am very impressed with Photogenics. It does feel like almost a baby sort of Photoshop for the Amiga. And that's kind of quite important because I think the Amiga was lacking that sort of graphics grunt. Admittedly, it was at the end of the Amiga's life. And I think if you were running this on an A4000, you'd get a lot more use out of it, a lot more speed and a lot more oomph, as it were. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to end the video here. Not my usual outro, as it were, but there you go. This is it. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. I do hope you found it of interest. If you did like it and you want to see more of this stuff, leave any comments you like in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Coming up on the channel, we've got an A500 modification process to go through, and then we'll be back on the Amos trail again once more. So thanks once again for watching. Whatever you do, look after yourselves and keep it retro. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, here's some other videos which may be of interest to you.